Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed live from Los Angeles. Day 5, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jason McIntyre here with Greg Jennings, Rob Parker. How you guys doing today? Valentine's Day.
Excellent.
You get your wife anything nice?
Hey, I'm what's nice, right?
Oh, is that it?
Wow, jeez, Greg.
That's never it. That's just the start. That's
just
always
the way it goes.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, I will be resting, getting ready for my trip to the NBA All-Star
No
Game
hot
in
dates
Chicago.
tonight, huh?
No hot date.
All right, happy Valentine's Day to my wife and my mom. I know they're both watching. Folks, we got a packed show for you today. Do the Patriots now have a valid excuse to move on from Rob Parker's best friend, Tom Brady? Plus, has Zion finally convinced everyone he's a true superstar?
Did they win last
obvious.
night?
He went off last
Okay,
night, but
I'm just
first,
asking.
we got to talk about the Celtics and those choking dogs, the LA Clippers. Oh, my goodness. Paul George missed most of the game for LA, left with a hamstring injury in the second quarter. LA was still able to force double overtime, but Kawhi Leonard, he kind of vanished, right? Couldn't keep up with Jason Tatum, who went for 39. Boston comes out on top by 8 points, 141-133. Now, Patrick Beverley also missed this game with a nagging groin issue. Boy, the Clippers can't stay healthy. They got to get a new training staff in there. Folks, I got to start here with you, Greg. Clippers, injuries, Lakers, what do you got?
This is a real possibility that this hurts this team moving forward. And why do I say that? Because from day one, they've been faced with this injury bug, if you will. Paul George didn't start the season with this team. And then you get Kawhi, who's on load management because of the injuries that can surmount. And then you have guys like Patrick Beverley, who are important to your team, who miss time. Lou Williams has missed time. Harold has missed a game. Like, they haven't been all together consistently enough. And that can prove to hurt a team. When you look at this team, 18 games in which Kawhi, PG, and these are their players. Their core four. Kawhi, Paul George, Beverly, and Lou all played. This season, they're 14-4 in those games, averaging 117 points, only allowing 109. And then the games that they've missed, Paul George has already missed 21 games. Kawhi has missed 13 games. Lou Williams has missed 3. Like, these problems can be huge in the late season and in the postseason specifically. One of the reasons why is when you look at coaches, one of the things that they always harp on is availability. Most important availability and best availability is just being available. Do I have you? I played in the league for 10 years. And one of the conversations that always happened on the sideline with the coach and the training staff is he up or is he down? When the guy gets injured, the coach wants to know, do I have him or do I not? Why? Because how I move forward as a coach, I'm not even talking about the players yet. How I move forward as a coach, as a play caller, as putting my strategy together, how I'm going to configure this play, who's going to get the ball in this situation. That impacts the game. That impacts my approach moving forward. And it not only impacts my approach, but it impacts every player that is now afforded this opportunity that I have. And when I say that, if Paul George is not available, we saw this last night. They are a different team. If Kawhi is not available,
struggle through double overtime.
If Kawhi is not available, they are a different team. These things surmount, they add up. And when you don't develop that chemistry, it can bite you in the end. And I'm concerned that maybe this might be the reason why they out. The Lakers may not even have to. The Lakers may not even be the main reason. It may be by friendly fire. Rob, you know, Jason, you're a gambler. You're a gambler.
Yes, I am.
Would you play blackjack without the aces?
Stop it, Greg.
If you're a player. No, you wouldn't play blackjack.
Hey, listen, this happens, Greg.
This does happen.
We've seen this in the finals.
But
like
without a full deck of cards, you're looking at possibilities that are lessened and less likely of a chance. I'm not saying they don't have a chance without these guys, but your odds of winning. I'll give you one more note. The Golden State Warriors last year, how did they start the season? Without Boogie Cousins. Immediately once they acquired Boogie Cousins, even without Boogie Cousins, we thought the Golden State Warriors were a lock for the championship. They were a lock. Well, you want to know what happened? 21 games with Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond, and Boogie. Warriors were 18-3 last year, averaging 120 points. What happened in the postseason? Injuries. Yeah. They couldn't find a way to all stay on the court together.
You should remind
if they would have been all on the court, we might be talking about a different championship run or a dynasty that could have still been rolling on. But that didn't transpire because of injuries, and it started from day one.
This is Greg Jennings reaching as deep. Both of you guys entertaining each other. Obviously, injuries are a big part, and if those guys aren't there, they're going to have a hard time to be able to succeed. But it's a journey. It's a path. All right, you just brought it up. The scary thing that you just said is with those guys all together, they're 14-4. That's how good. It's how you finish, not how you start.
That's 18 games.
That's fine.
18 out of 55.
That's fine.
Rob.
That with those guys all healthy in there. Last year, Toronto missed Kawhi Leonard 20-some-odd games. I think it was 22 games. They won the championship, right? No, they won the championship, Greg. Did they not?
They did.
He missed 22 games.
Kawhi.
But I'm just trying to tell you that if those guys get together, work it out, right, and get healthy, and they're there for the finish line and for the postseason, and they put it all together. I understand if you're telling me I'm not going to have Kawhi or I'm not going to have Paul George, the chance of them winning a championship isn't good. I get that. All I'm saying is, I'm not worried about that now. If we started the playoffs tomorrow and you don't have those guys, I understand your concern. There's a long way between now and the NBA playoffs to be worried about guys who get hurt during the year. I get it. I'm just trying to tell you, they've had 27 different lineup changes, and yet throughout all of it, and the Lakers had the greatest start, 24-3 and all that. And you know where they are? They're still third in the Western Conference. Okay. They're not eighth. Right. They're not out of the playoffs. They're not struggling just to get there. Despite not being whole, look how good they are.
So, Rob, this is what you're missing.
That's the part I'm
missing.
making.
This is what you're missing with the LA Clippers, okay? Greg, as a player, you can understand where I'm coming from. Playing together as a team when you've got all these new pieces, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, you need to be on the court together to understand and build and develop good habits together. For instance, last night against the Celtics, we see them switching on every single screen, and every single time Jason Tatum got isolated against Shamit and just torched him. Jason Tatum went right at him. Why? Because Kawhi Leonard hasn't been on the court with his core guys all the time. They don't have that understanding together, and you can see it. You just said it, 18 games together. That's it. You've got to develop these good habits to build greatness. You can't just show up in the postseason, say, hey, we played 18 games together, we're going to be good, and expect to roll. I'm telling you, this is bad news.
It's not bad news.
And hold on. Let me add one more point. All you keep saying all week about the Clippers, they got some dogs, man. They got some dogs. They're barking. You like to think they're Doberman pinchers with Marcus Morris and Kawhi, Beverly. I'm seeing a bunch of poodles out there last night. I'm not kidding. The Celtics lit them up. Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, they got buckets easily. Kemba Walker, and then you're going to lean on the injuries.
You know how many times poodles have won at the dog show?
Yeah, poodles win a dog show. But I'm saying you're going there tough and physical. This team went 1-3 on a road trip against mediocre teams. They got smoked by Minnesota.
What do you mean mediocre
Minnesota,
team?
They got smoked by, and second-tier teams in the East, Boston and Philly.
Philadelphia's 25-2 at home.
They're a second-tier team in the East. They both beat the Lakers. I get it.
Here's the other part. You look at last night's game. I tell you, look at that. They don't have Paul George most of the game. They go to double overtime, and they lose to a good team on the road.
So how come I haven't heard you say once, hey, the Warriors didn't have Kevin Durant in the finals?
No.
The Raptors. That's all Kawhi Leonard's a champion. I'm just looking at that and saying, they didn't get run out the building. They forced double overtime. They lost. They take the L. I'm not making excuses for that. But I don't look at that game and go, oh, my God, no Paul George. They had no chance to win that game. They were in that game to double overtime. So the sound the alarm and the sky is falling and they're not going to be able to make it because they're not ready in February at the All-Star break is not a valid point. If you're telling me we're in April and we're in the playoffs and this is where they are, maybe I'll buy into that.
I'm not buying into that right now. I like what they've seen. I like where they are. And I'm telling you, when the Clippers all put it together, the whole world.
Not when.
When. The whole journey has been about getting ready for the playoffs. They know where they are. They know how good they were a year ago with no stars when they went up to Oakland and won 2 playoff games against a healthy Warriors team. Everybody was there. I don't doubt this team one bit.
I totally understand what you're talking about last night. They did play well. They did fight until 2 overtimes. It took 2 overtimes for the Celtics to come out on top. However, the question is, will the Clippers' injuries keep them from getting past the Lakers? So when I look at that, this is a real possibility, Rob. You have to be honest about it. When you look at the Clippers, injury is one of the main reasons why, with every goal that they have in front of them, that they will possibly not achieve what they want to set out to achieve this year.
If you have a crystal ball and you're telling me that those guys aren't playing, all I'm telling you, it's February at the All-Star break. I'm not panicking.
If this was the Lakers,
understand it's February. Look at the Golden State Warriors. You can tell them it was February. It was January. They had guys in and out of the lineup all last year. No one said we knew that KD was going to get injured or we knew that Steph or Draymond or all these guys.
When did they make it last year to the NBA Finals?
Did they win?
No, but if you get hurt in the NBA Finals, yes, you're going to be at a loss. But I'm just telling you that I'm not concerned over Paul George, right? I'm saying right now, or Kawhi missing the load management games. This is a script that he's already done. And you know what? I'm willing to know that Kawhi Leonard knows what it takes for his body and will be ready when the playoffs come. When the playoffs came last year, was he ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I will fight. I would rebuttal that too with this. When you look at the Toronto Raptors, how many new players, how many new pieces did they have on that team?
Yeah.
Or did they just really insert a guy in Kawhi Leonard and say, okay, you find your way in with us and then we'll adapt or you adapt? It was a lot easier than putting together a Paul George, Lou Williams, Marcus Morris now, who hasn't even been there, who doesn't even know the culture, who he fits what you want, but how can we pull out the best of what he has to offer for this team so that we can have success as a unit? What you're talking about, Jason, is real. Chemistry is real, and it's developed off of the court, off of the game court, and in practice. And when you're not getting that time, and even on the court, when you're not spending that time together, I don't know what you're going to do in clutch moments. I don't know. We had Rick Bruker on here earlier this week, and he talked about the Toronto Raptors and how they understand every situation of who's going to do what it's going to look like, their roles. That is important. Last night we saw it. We saw Lou Williams with the hot hand. He was the guy that was pretty much taking them down the stretch. And then Kawhi would sprinkle in and jump in there and try to hit a couple jumpers here and there. But it was no consistency. You don't know who the closer is going to be, and you have options. I get that. Totally understand that. But sometimes when you have so many pieces, it takes that much longer for them to mesh and to gel and to come together.
For them not to mesh and gel, I'm just saying, third in the West, where they are, given all the circumstances, tells you the talent level that they have.
We know that. Nobody's questioning the talent level. We're questioning chemistry. And let me tell you about Kawhi Leonard.
I'm trying to say that if you look at where they are and what they've done, despite all of that, tells you that there is, if you give them time and these guys get healthy and play the second half of the season, they could be a well-oiled machine ready to go. And you say that they don't know. You know what Kawhi is. You know what Paul George. Maybe not with the Clippers, but you know.
That's the point.
But you know that these guys have proven track records as guys who can close the game. That's what they didn't have last year. They didn't have those stars. This nucleus that, for the most part, is still there, was strong, even though they made the playoffs after trading Tobias Harris, their best player. They went to Golden State.
Tobias Harris.
Well, at the time, their best player. He was.
I know. That's what's funny about it.
And they made the playoffs when everybody thought they had thrown the towel in. They go to Golden State and they beat Steph, Clay, and Durant. They take 2 games on the road. They make Kevin Durant score 50-some-odd points to win Game 6 to put him out. That nucleus there with Doc Rivers, I believe in them when you add the two stars.
But here's
That's
what
all
you're
I'm
missing
saying.
about that, okay? This team that you keep talking about, the dogs, they grit and grind, okay? When Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell have been around, as you said last year, then they look over in the locker room at the diva, Kawhi Leonard, who comes into LA and says, I ain't playing no back-to-backs. And his Uncle Dennis, his advisor, when he was negotiating with the Lakers and everybody said, oh yeah, I want a private jet, I want endorsements.
Nobody cares about that.
Kawhi Leonard, this idea that he's some kind of dog, there is a big diva in Kawhi Leonard, and he's in that locker room with the grit and grind guys. And then you got Paul George in the corner, just kind of, I'm not having a great year. What's my role here? I've got my third hamstring injury in 5 weeks. Rob, you're missing the big picture. The Clippers right now are in a bit of a funk, okay? Their chemistry issues are real. There's an article out that in The Athletic that said, hey, there's some locker room questions. Lou and Montrez were the guys last year. Lou Williams last night, you watch him, he gets hot, okay? Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard, 28 points on 27 shots. And if you read the articles in the LA Times,
you can see the
LA Times and the LA Daily News, who was running that huddle in fourth quarter and overtime? It wasn't Kawhi Leonard. It was Lou Williams telling them what to do, calling for the ball, and Kawhi Leonard's over here, the diva superstar, sitting out back-to-backs, and everybody's gassing him up like he's the best player in the world. This team has real problems going forward.
We just saw what Kawhi Leonard was able to do. Go to Toronto, a franchise that had never won, comes to L.A., comes to the Clippers. He could have gone to LeBron, or he could have gone to the Lakers and taken the easy way out. LeBron wanted him. They had AD. He could have done all the load management, had an easy road. He chose the Clippers. He decided that him and Paul George, rather than the easy way out, would go with the underdogs, the team nobody believed that they can win a championship. You're living in the past, and those guys in that locker room know that he chose them and the harder path, the guys who aren't supposed to be there. He could have still been in L.A., still playing at the Staples Center, but he could have been with LeBron and AD, right? And nobody would question it. He wouldn't even have to play.
Maybe the Lakers wouldn't give him back-to-backs off.
No, that ain't it. And he decided with the Clippers, trust me, they're all in on this. They know what this guy can deliver and what can potentially happen when you have a star like him. I'm not buying into all that. Everybody knows their roles. They know that guy can lead them to a championship, and that's why they'll wind up working it out.
There's one more component to this. Sometimes when you've configured such a star-studded team or roster, you get this sense of entitlement. You get this sense of, you know what? It's gonna be easy tonight. It's gonna be easy tomorrow night. We'll get that win. We'll be able to turn it on when we want to, and we'll flip the switch off when we don't really need it on. That can be problematic. When you start trends like that, it is hard. I'm not saying Kawhi can't turn it on, but everyone is not Kawhi. We haven't seen everyone do what Kawhi has done. We haven't seen. Has Paul George won?
Has he got out of the first round?
And I like Paul George.
He hasn't won yet.
He hasn't won. So this is important for Paul George. This is important for Lou Williams.
He has injuries, though. He's not like he's not playing because he didn't want to play.
This is my point.
Yeah, he's hurt.
This is my point. So the fact that he's not out there, and then Kawhi, when Paul George is out there, he's choosing to, as Jason alluded to, I'm not going to play in this game because I'm just going to load manage and I'm going to wait. It's going to hurt you in the long run because we haven't spent enough time.
And let me say this. Given all your not enough time and chemistry, the team that's in front of them is the Lakers, right?
And the Nuggets, too.
And that's the team that they've beaten twice. And they've handled, even though they didn't have Paul George in one game, even though they're disjointed, even though they don't have the chemistry that you guys are talking about, the Lakers have steamrolled everybody else except for the Clippers. So that's my point, is that when the time comes and they need to do that, they've already proven that they can beat the Lakers. It's the Lakers who have to figure out if they can beat the Clippers in four out of 7 times. So you can go ahead and give me your pity party and they're hurt and they don't have chemistry. But when it's mattered the most against the team that's in their way, they have delivered. And you can't deny that, despite all of no practice time and Kawhi's load management, and they're not together, and Paul George is gimpy. The Lakers should have steamrolled over this team because they're not put together.
Yeah, so when the Clippers lose in the regular season, it doesn't matter. But when the Lakers lose to the Clippers,
I'm asking
sky is
you,
falling. All right,
who's in their way? Thank you.
Yeah. All right,
Greg,
so anyways, we agree the Clippers are good on paper.
Greg, you got to come back after the break.
No,
okay?
we're not going to the break
It's
yet.
not
Hold
break
on.
yet.
It's not break time. I know you need to go to the corner and get some water and towel off after another loss, but let's move to the Celtics. And Rob Parker, I'll let you start here. Boston Celtics look good last night. Jason Tatum, unguardable, whether it was Landry Shamet, Kawhi, whoever. Can the Celtics threaten Milwaukee in the East? Are they a legit threat?
This is hard because I know you and Chris Broussard both picked the Celtics.
He likes
Chris
the
picked
Sixers.
76ers. Mm-hmm. You picked the Celtics. I'm just not sure. I mean, they were a good team, and Tatum was outstanding last night. And you know that they can beat good teams on any given night. But can they beat Milwaukee, Greg, in a 7-game series? I'm just not convinced of that. And I'm not here to say that the Celtics can't compete. But Milwaukee, look at what they're doing. If you look and go through the numbers, they're putting together one of the greatest seasons ever put together by any team in the NBA, statistic-wise and whatnot. They might not win 74 games or whatever, but as far as statistically, they have been outstanding. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Kemba Walker instead of Kyrie, right, has worked out for them, right?
I'm with you here. This is tough. I mean, they have a chance. The Celtics have a chance, but it's more of a fighter's chance. Just when you look at what Giannis brings, the identity, how infectious that is to that team in Milwaukee, it elevates everyone else. And it's not so much that he makes everyone better, but he alleviates so much pressure from everyone else in their roles and responsibilities when he is present and on that court because he demands all the attention. He demands all the attention. So you have a Chris Middleton.
And people don't believe, they still don't believe in Chris Middleton.
No.
All this guy's done
against the Raptors last year, he was
right?
That's all he's done.
That's all he's done.
He had about as many points against the Raptors last year in the series that I did. So
I totally get that, but you have guys like Bledsoe. They have so much depth. Everything about them, from the coaching staff, they're well coached. Like, this team has no holes. And then you have, again, I'll go back to Giannis. The way LeBron ran through the East is exactly what Giannis Antetokounmpo is doing. And the mentality that LeBron had of, I'm just not losing to these guys. I'm better than you, I want it more than you, and you can't beat me. That's the mentality that Giannis has. Added on the fact that what we saw last year in the postseason, what happened in that Toronto series, he feels like he let his team down.
Don't forget, they were up 2-0.
They were
Everybody
up 2-0.
was ready to crown, right?
And he feels like I let my team down. And so playing with that sense of urgency on top of what we've already seen him do and what we know and he's capable of doing night in and night out, this team from top to bottom, I like them. They're deep and they're too skilled. Not that the Celtics couldn't have a fighter's chance, because I do think they do.
What's the fighter's chance? 2 wins, 3? Can they push it to 7?
No, it would not go to 7.
I will go ahead and take the Celtics. I think they can take it.
You still believe that they can beat?
Yeah, let me quickly go back. Giannis, first of all, is a terrible matchup for Boston. Al Horford was their guy last year. He's now in Philly. Okay? So what did they do in that series? In game 1, they packed the paint, said, Giannis, we'll give you every shot. Celtics win by 20. Okay? And like, whoa, are the Bucks that good? Of course, the Bucks made adjustments. Giannis starts making threes, and they win the next 4. But one thing that jumps out is Kyrie Irving last year. We know he was a bit of a locker room guy, tried to coach up the young guys by talking down to them. He took more shots last year against the Bucks than Gordon Hayward and Jason Tatum combined. I think Kyrie Irving is addition by subtraction for the Celtics. I think they're better with Kemba running the show, and I do believe the Celtics can take them down if they can figure out a strategy to handle Giannis, which is very difficult. They don't have any big guys. If you watched them last night against the Clippers, they didn't need a big. Montrezl Harrell, when he won it in overtime, quickly was dunking on anybody. It's a tall order, but I trust Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, and Kemba Walker to pull it off. I'll go with the upset Celtics in 6.
Oh, I think I can't even envision that.
Really?
I really can't. And even Kyrie, I get it last year in Boston, but this is a guy who averaged 28 points against the Warriors, who made big shots. So that guy felt and won a championship, that he should be out there taking the big shots in the moments. That's why you bring in a guy like that. So whether or not it didn't work out, and people can rip on him, but that's why you bring in a guy of that caliber who's been there.
Well, isn't it interesting that the Celtics didn't even care that Kyrie Irving was gone?
That's fine, but
But
we'll see where they go as you move on. Now last year they won.
Is Kyrie in the playoffs with Brooklyn this year?
Oh, because you bring up Kyrie, and I'll say this really quick. Last year I sat over there in that seat, and I told you that Kyrie was the problem. I understood how great he was in his talent and skill set, but the dynamic of that team was not moving in the direction that they thought it would be with Kyrie taking all those shots, playing iso ball. He just did not fit for that team. So they are better suited without Kyrie.
No mercy. At age 42, Tom Brady has built his TB12 brand around longevity. However, the NFL Network reported that multiple NFL executives are concerned about Brady's sustainability. The six-time Super Bowl champ hasn't missed a game due to injury since he tore his ACL in 2008. Rob Parker, Patriots fan, Rob Parker, do you think
I'm
this
a
gives
reporter. I'm not a fan of any team.
the Patriots an out to get rid of Tom Brady?
I mean, if you want to take a look and say he's going to be a 43-year-old quarterback in August, and can we really count on him because if Tom Brady wants to play 2 more years, I guess you could use it as an out. As far as other, if you're the Patriots, you could and just say we want to move on. The Patriots' MO, and Greg knows this, is that they always get rid of people a year or two early than a year or two late. And with Tom Brady, he was supposed to be gone for Jimmy Garoppolo. It didn't happen. So he's the one guy that got to stick around longer than they normally want people to stick around. So I don't know if they can totally use that and tell people, well, he's old now, and we can't use him because they've had nothing but success. So I'm not just saying I don't think they can use it. Maybe some other teams might want to use that. When I hear the story about his sustainability, you know what you're getting with a 43-year-old quarterback. We saw Peyton Manning do this. He wasn't that old.
He wasn't that, yeah.
But he was beat up and he went to Denver. And they wound up winning the Super Bowl because they had all the other parts. So can I see another team saying, yes, I'm going to take a chance on a 43-year-old quarterback. We need him for 2 years. Maybe we have a good defense. Maybe we have good offensive weapons. The Patriots don't have all that stuff. And I'm not so sure it's still coming now, or they're going to go out in free agency and break the bank to make Tom Brady be viable again. So I'm not sure the Patriots are going there. For other teams, if I'm the Chargers, I'm all in on Tom Brady for 2 years. I just am. Phillip Rivers, we saw him last year, just didn't have it anymore. He was terrible, a lot of interceptions. They went from vying for the AFC Championship game, 2 years ago, to being out of the playoffs and being horrible with Phillip Rivers. Tom Brady last year, they won 12 games. He put up some numbers against some bad teams or whatever. They got to the playoffs, they lost. But if I'm the Chargers, I take a chance, and I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about Tom Brady's not going to be around for 5 years. There are no 5-year plans in the NFL anymore. It's about what can we do to make adjustments. Can we get somebody? Can we upgrade positions? Can we upgrade the quarterback position? Can we keep this guy upright, have the offensive line protect him, and give him a chance to throw the football? So I think the Patriots can move on from Tom Brady. People will understand it. But I think other teams looking for a good quarterback.
People in Boston can understand
that.
Oh, yeah.
43 years
Jarrett
old.
Stidham, Greg Jennings. Yeah,
you watched him last year. If you think that Tom Brady's the same, there's no way.
No,
and especially if you're not going to go out and get all these pieces that Tom Brady needs. Tom Brady, people used to always brag about Tom Brady. He does more with less than anybody else. He had less last year, and he couldn't do more.
Wait, they went 12-4, is he?
No. That was They were the worst 8-0 team last year in the NFL.
Got it. All right.
They didn't beat anybody.
This does not give the New England Patriots an out. It just doesn't. And the reason why is because they understand Tom Brady better than anyone. Inside and out, they know his body of work. They know what he provides. But more than that, they know the depth of his work ethic. They know that even at 42 years old, he's going to come in prepared, more prepared than what we've seen anyone at this age. Why? Because we haven't seen anyone at this age do it like this, outside of like a guy getting close to Warren Moon. And so when you look at Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, they have to answer a question. What are we doing? And what do we want at quarterback? Are we going to just start completely over? And then do we think that our defense is good enough to really just hold down the fort until we establish what we want at the quarterback position? Or do we go out and get a Marcus Mariota or Ryan Tannehill or Teddy Bridgewater and pay them less than what we would have to pay Tom? But that still isn't what we want to see moving forward for our future. It could potentially turn into it, but that's not what we, like you said, that's not what we really had in place as far as an idea of how we want to move forward, because the idea was what you just said, Rob. They wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to be taking over already, if not right now taking over, had taken over right a few years ago. So the question really is, what are the Patriots going to do, and what do they want to do? How do they want this position to be filled, and what are they looking for in this position? Because if you're looking for a guy that can just rely on the defense to win the games and just hold par just game manage, why would you let Tom Brady go?
Exactly. And Greg Jennings, because that sounded so brilliant, I'm going to go to the dictionary for the second time this week.
Oh my
Sustainability.
God.
Rob Parker, the ability to maintain at a certain level or rate. Tom Brady, as you just said, game manage, upgrade the positions. This is done. This, if anything, is an embarrassment from other executives around the league trying to drive a wedge between Bill Belichick.
It's not an embarrassment. This is real. This is real. Yes, it is.
Real?
Tom Brady what? For all these years took a hometown discount.
Yes.
That's why there's a problem. If it wasn't about, there's a pride factor. Greg talked about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? And that's where that whole thing about making more money, all of a sudden Tom Brady, after all these years, wants to make more money.
We don't know that.
These are reports I got to go on. Okay? Those are the reports.
I thought we were going for the respect angle that Greg brought up.
Greg brought that up, but I've heard that he wants to get paid, that he hadn't been paid all these years as a star quarterback. But then if you're the Patriots, you're going, at 43, you want to get paid? It's hard.
Right.
It's hard for them to now open up am I right, Greg, to open up the bank and say, oh yeah, no problem. Here's all the money, and now we won't be able to do other things as you get older. And I think that's where the rub is. That's why Tom Brady's not in the fold. Robert Kraft loves him. If Robert Kraft would have stepped in and go, just give him the money, whatever it is, he would be the quarterback.
Rob,
he wouldn't have moved out of New England.
Is this not silly?
He wouldn't have cleaned out his suite, Greg. He would be there. There would be no conversation.
Why would he put money above respect and winning? He has millions and millions of dollars in the bank. His wife's a supermodel. Greg, it's respect and winning at 42. Why would it be money?
And for me, when it comes to respect and winning, like, where else are you going to win? Like now, and you know that you have a chance going into the situation that I can win. Rob, for me, when I look at Tom Brady, like it has nothing to do with the money. The money has he said no to the money when he should have said yes, or he could have said yes.
Well, but maybe he has regrets now, and it's just
maybe.
At 40, Tom Brady is smart. He is not an ignorant individual, which is why he's the quarterback that has lasted this long at this level, because he understands the game. He is just doing what he knows he needs to do as a free agent, opening and having available to him all doors and all options, so that if the one that I really want doesn't work out, I haven't closed the door or I haven't slammed the door shut on any other team. But it's all in the hands of the New England Patriots. And again, I'll say it. It depends on what the New England Patriots are trying to do. If they want to try to rebuild this offense, which they have a lot of young guys, a lot of young talent, and they want to just say, you know what, let's just strip the face out from under center and let's start fresh. You have an opportunity to do that now. But if you want to sustain your winning ways And I don't think they would just turn into one of the bottom teams in the National Football League. That's not who they are. That's not their culture. But if you're looking to continue winning, why not look at the best option, which is Tom Brady, and you already know you have him in your back pocket?
But, Greg, everything you say makes sense. The only problem with it is, why are we here? If Tom Brady was that guy and they just want to continue with what they're doing, when they gave him that phony 3-year contract where the last 2 years weren't guaranteed, they could have secured him with a 3-year contract and said, Tom Brady all along said, I want to play to 45 years old. They could have just said, here's the deal, Tom. You're never going to wear anybody else's uniform. We're going down with you. They've left the door open for Tom Brady to be a free agent.
There's zero precedent for that in NFL history.
Why?
That is terrible business.
He's been there for 20 years and they've done nothing but win, Greg.
Business. Greg, tell him, as a guy who signed multiple contracts, is it not terrible business to say, hey, we'll give you a 3-year deal so you can play till you're 45? That's awful business.
You're telling me that.
I would have loved for somebody to tell me that, but that's just not the reality.
But you didn't play 20 years in a place and win 6 Super Bowls. And my point is, if this is so obvious and you want to stay where you are, just like you said, Bill Belichick knows it, Robert Kraft knows it, Tom Brady knows it. So he shouldn't be out here flirting with free agency. Tom Brady should be about, I'm not going anywhere. We'll work this out. It ain't about money. It's about getting a contract done. He wouldn't have to put his house up for sale, move to Connecticut, his trainer moved from New England, all this stuff, all these cryptic pictures of him leaving and all this other stuff that's out there. Tom Brady, there's no reason to do it at 43 years old.
You ask, why are we here? Why are they here?
Why are we here?
It's always going to be about money. It is always going to be about money. When we look at these contracts and these guys and these negotiations, look at Dak Prescott. Why aren't they signed? They
don't buy into
It's
him.
about the dollar amount.
But they don't believe that he's that guy. That's
Bob,
why.
it's about the dollar amount. And when you look at Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, I guarantee you, if Tom Brady comes back and says, look, guys, whatever it takes to get this done, let's just get it done. They'll give him $1 that he can live with, a dollar amount that he can live with, and they will ride off into the sunset.
Well, assuming they upgrade the roster, right?
Assuming that they upgrade the
Brady
roster.
Has questions.
But this is something that it's always going to be about money. And I don't want to make it seem like Tom Brady is money hungry and he wants to be the highest paid quarterback.
Or Tom Brady is different from anybody else who wants to be paid for their value. And this is what I'm trying to say.
If they're going to pay Tom Brady for his value, then I'm not going to pay you for your value 5 years ago.
Why not? The Chicago Bulls did it for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that was
they paid him 33 and 35 million his last 2 years.
Can't compare
Why? Because he was underpaid his entire career.
Can't compare NBA to NFL contracts.
Completely different scenario. No cap. We're dealing with.
You could still give somebody money if you want to, Greg.
Yeah,
you
just give
somewhere
money.
else.
Let's just throw money around.
Because it's Tom Brady. I thought he was the greatest of all time. Now you don't have enough money for Tom?
When I get done with this show, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to just tell them, you guys can just give me the money you want to give me. I don't really have to work, do I?
We won multiple Super Bowls this week, Greg Jennings.
What are you talking about,
And then
Rob?
all they say is Skip and Shannon will be back on Monday. And they won't give you the money.
Exactly.
Let's move on, guys. No mercy. The Thunder got the win over the Pelicans last night, but Zion Williamson was electric. Coming off his previous career high of 31, Zion went for a new career high, dropped 32 with highlight reel play. Look at these dunks, folks. This is insanity. He's a teenager. Going into the All-Star break, the Pelicans sit 5.5 games behind the 8th seed in the West. Shucks, I'm supposed to start this, but
Yeah,
I'm just too fired up, and I don't want to get in an argument right out of the gate.
No, go for it.
Superstar Zion Williamson, folks. The question is, can the Pelicans make a run at the 8th seed? So I had the great stat guy over here, Josh, look up, strength of schedule. Let's see how tough the Pelicans have it. So there's 30 NBA teams. Rest of the season, the Pelicans have the easiest schedule in the NBA. Guess who has the toughest schedule in the NBA? Memphis Grizzlies, who currently have the 8th seed. They're one of the youngest teams in the league. I can easily see Memphis falling apart a bit. I hope Ja Morant doesn't come after me on social media the way he goes after other people. But I can easily see Zion Williamson, who you know, I probably shouldn't trot out all the stats here. But, folks, in the last 30 years, 2 other number 1 picks scored 200 points in 10 games. Shaq and Allen Iverson. Zion Williamson has now joined them. And I know we talked about him.
Guy who scored the most points in 10 games.
No, in the last 30 years. Yeah, okay. Oh, you want to go back to the Stone Age?
No, I'm going to give you. That's not that stat you got.
And I'm just telling you, Zion Williamson, if you guys want to roll these highlights, I'm telling you, this quickness that he has, it's like a shark coming out of the water to get a dolphin. This dude is unbelievable. The second jump that he has, look at these highlights. This is against Steven Adams, one of the toughest, most physical bigs in the league. He's just abusing him. Here he is in the open court going right by Dennis Schroeder, not playing a lick of defense. Look at this. I'm telling you guys, 285 pounds, swatting shots into the second row. Rob Parker, listen, you don't want us to crown him too early. I'm telling you right now, the bandwagon is filling up for Zion. It's loaded. If you miss the boat, you can't get on it later. There is no room on the bandwagon.
I don't want to get on the boat, but of the 4 players, he's the 4th player with the amount of points. 200 or some odd points in his first
210 games. Yeah, last 30 years.
Number 1 guy was Brandon Jennings. Remember him?
So he didn't. That's not what the stat guys told me.
Yeah,
Shaq and Iverson.
Brandon Jennings. And then
Brandon Jennings.
Yes, and then Shaq, and then Iverson.
Oh, no, he wasn't a number 1 pick.
Okay.
He was like a number 10 pick.
Okay, but I'm just talking about who had the most points after their first 10 games.
Oh, so we're comparing Brandon Jennings,
I'm just trying to
Young
tell you,
Money, or whatever he called himself.
Be careful about crowning somebody, because that guy had more points.
To your point, you said number 1.
Number 1 pick.
No,
number 1 pick.
But I'm just saying, he won the number 1 pick, and he had more points than Shaq and Iverson.
He was playing in Spain like 2 years later. They got him out of the league.
Okay, but I'm just trying to say, be careful before, pump the brakes on superstar, okay? And I'm just not sold that the Pelicans are going to make this miracle run in the second half of the season. There's other teams that are in the way as well.
Who's that?
Right? Are the Blazers? The Blazers and the Spurs
like the
as
Blazers,
well.
yeah.
Don't they have, the Blazers won the Western Conference Finals a year ago.
They were.
Okay? Spurs took Denver to a 7-game series last year in the first round. Yeah. All I'm saying is there are other teams in the way. This would be Herculean. If he were able to do this, I would start to look at him and say, wow, this is some accomplishment. Greg, this would be some move to move up from 11th, where they are, right, which is 9 games under 500, with what? How many games? Remember, this isn't the real
27,
right.
28,
This isn't a real 41 games left.
Yeah.
There's like 20. This is quite a move to jump over that many teams.
That's what superstars do.
In that amount of time. Okay, if you want to give me that, I don't think the Pelicans are making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, Zion is making history every time he steps on the basketball court. However, I just don't think this year it'll happen for them moving into the 8th seed and them making the playoffs. And a lot of reasons why. Number 1 being the amount of time that he missed. It's so much, and they don't have a ton of ground to make up. But just as I alluded to with the Clippers, the chemistry, the dynamic. And adding on top of that, they're such a young team. Yes, do they have a closer in Brandon Ingram? Yes, they have that. Check that box. Do they have an explosive young superstar in Zion? Superstar. Yes, check that box.
You guys call him that.
Alvin Gentry has done a great job with these young, talented individuals. However, there's a trajectory that you have to go on when it comes to winning. And typically, one of those roads or paths that you encounter is learning how to win. And this is where I feel like they're going to be challenged the most. This is a team that is very talented. We see all the talent from top to bottom. And even with Derek Favors coming over, it gives them some level of presence on the inside and some experience. But is it going to be enough this year? I don't think so.
He was so spectacular, but they didn't even win.
In close games, you don't know how to win yet. Yeah. Why? Because we haven't had the experience. In a lot of teams, I was on a team in Green Bay where we were young, one of the youngest teams in all of football. And we had so much talent, and we were in so many close games that we didn't win. The following year, after that, the games that we lost, all those close games, we found out how to finish and how to close out those games the right way. And I think next year, that's what we're going to see with this New Orleans Pelicans team, with a healthy Zion Williamson,
from the start of the season.
From the start of the season, and them developing that chemistry in practice, off the court, and then moving it and transferring it on the court and understanding, guys, this is how it did not work for us last year, and this is why it will this year, because we've been through the fire. We've understood what we didn't do and what we did wrong last year to not close out games to this year coming or the next season
in
coming
an
up.
NBA season where ratings are down, Steph Curry's hurt, Durant's hurt, the NBA would love it if Zion Williamson got to the playoffs and faced LeBron in the first round. That would be probably the most watched first-round NBA playoff series in, I would guess, 2 decades.
The NBA would have loved to have LeBron in the playoffs last year, and it didn't happen.
He got hurt.
No, it didn't happen. I'm just trying to say,
hurt.
I know all your scenarios that you always want.
Finds a way to take shots at LeBron every single
but you're
day.
telling me what the NBA, would they have not liked?
They would have loved it.
Have LeBron in the playoffs? I'm just asking you. So it's one thing to want something, want dream matchups. I get all that. Yes, it would be great for television. They're not ready. He's scoring points. They're still not winning at a clip. If he came in and the first 10 games, they ran off 10 in a row and he changed everything about it, yes.
You don't think he already is? This team had a losing culture early in the season. He's played 10 games. Now, Brandon Ingram's hurt. Drew Holiday has had some injuries. They got one of the youngest teams in the league.
I get all that.
I'm telling you.
I'm just saying,
will you
it ain't
give
here yet.
Zion superstar status if they get to the playoffs this year?
I've got to see how it plays out, but I would be more open to it if he were able to make that happen in his first year.
And then you know what he's going to say? They got swept
open.
the way Anthony Davis gets swept every year when he was in New Orleans, right?
Well, they beat
they beat Portland. Yeah, they did. But
I'll give you that. That's a win. But again, Rob made a point. There are teams in front of them with the Blazers who have experience, who understand how to fight in the postseason. Not saying that they have won.
Well, Spurs.
You get to the Western Conference Finals, you're doing something
right.
And then you have the Spurs who you see the difference in just the experience level. And not saying that the Pelicans don't have talent, because they have a lot of talent, but they have so many guys and none of them have experience winning. None of them have experience winning. And so when you have that, I get it. You can have the easiest remaining strength of schedule, but that doesn't mean anything if I don't know how to take advantage of it. And last night was a prime example against a team who in OKC, again, a team in the playoff hunt, they're 6th or 7th spot, but they have a Chris Paul. They have a guy who's been there, who understands, okay, it's the fourth quarter, it's the closing moments of the game. I have to be special. I have to put my team in a position where we win.
And you know the greatest point, you bring up Chris Paul and the Thunder, everybody wrote them off, the veteran guy going there with a young team after being gutted, and where are they? In the playoffs when everybody thought the Thunder were done, right?
Because you love Zion Williamson's stats, they keep coming at me in my ear. 4th teenager in NBA history, Rob Parker, to have back-to-back 30-point games. Zion Williamson.
It's funny.
Superstar.
According to you, I would think he would have been the first and only, but at 4th. So that means that this isn't...
NBA history. How many NBA players in the history of the sport?
This isn't 3 other guys have already done it, so it can't be that miraculous.
My God.
3 other, not any... If you told me he was the only teenager to do it,
what did Bruce Hart call him? The hatingest brother in the sports media?
The Habot.
The Habot.
Lock it up. No mercy. Big sigh of relief for Steeler Nation. Steelers GM Kevin Colbert said that all signs are good for quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben suffered a season-ending elbow injury in Week 2 versus Seattle. Without Big Ben in the pocket, the Steelers not only missed the playoffs, but finished 31st in passing. Roethlisberger turns 38 next month and is expected to make a complete recovery. Greg Jennings, can Big Ben get the Steelers back to the postseason?
Yes, he can. He can. And before I even go off into why and how he can, let me talk about their head coach and Mike Tomlin. Because as much as we've kind of been on his case about the handlings of locker room and all of these things, this guy just he does not lose. The one thing that he does is win. He's the coach that constantly wins when it matters. And we looked at this team last year and we said, oh, Ben got hurt. No Antonio Brown, no Le'Veon Bell. This team is done. Ben goes down, Pouncey goes down, James Conner gets hurt, Juju Smith-Schuster gets hurt.
Did they make the playoffs?
And they didn't make the playoffs, but they're 8-8. Even Rudolph goes down at some point in the season, and they find a way to win. And so now you tell me, Jason, Rob, I get Ben back? One of the top 7 quarterbacks in the league right now, currently as it stands, I get that back with healthy guys around me, with James Conner, with Juju, and hopefully they can add some other receivers, some skilled guys to help them out. This is a playoff team. In that division, the only team that ran away from them was the Baltimore Ravens, and we saw what they look like. The Pittsburgh Steelers, defensively intact, as one of the best defenses in all of football. When you talk about J.J. Watt and what Minkah Fitzpatrick added to that secondary, they are special. They understand who they are. They have an identity. Big Ben is a part of what they want to do moving forward, at least for the foreseen future. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was impressed with how they played without Ben Roethlisberger last year. The fact that they were competitive. And again, Mike Tomlin deserves a ton of credit because of that. And when you look at their division, yes, do they have the Baltimore Ravens to compete against? 100%. But everyone else on that AFC conference, I can see Pittsburgh getting back into the playoffs, and large in part because of Big Ben and all the heroics that we've seen him afford that team over the course of his career.
I'm out on Big Ben.
I knew you would be
I'm
out.
shocked.
In fact, I would take Uncle Ben over Big Ben at this point from the rice box. Yes.
We know who Uncle Ben is.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I thought you was Uncle Ben when I first met you.
The numbers, I mean, Greg, I know you're romanticizing with the past of Big Ben, but the numbers speak for themselves. 2017, 2018, those 2 years, Big Ben had the most interceptions in the NFL. Since he won Super Bowl 43, Ben Roethlisberger, 5-6 record, 15 touchdowns, 14 turnovers. 86 quarterback rating in the playoffs. He's been awful, right? So you can go ahead and say, oh, yeah, they were competitive last year because Ben wasn't playing. You're right. They were more competitive. People are living in the past on him. No AB, no Le'Veon Bell. You already said that. I'm not buying in. You know what? I think you could cast him for Grizzly Adams. I saw the video with the big beard and everything. I think that here's you just talked about the division. With Lamar, and even if the Browns can somehow get it together or whatever, I just don't see Pittsburgh as viable, even with an older, what'd you say, he's 38 or 50?
38.
38. I'm looking through, and the numbers just don't match up.
Okay.
Sometimes you gotta break away and look at a situation and say, maybe we need to, with some of the younger guys, go in a different route or move forward. Big Ben, his numbers-wise, when he's been healthy over the last few years, are not good.
That's interesting. So Big Ben is awful. So then, Greg, I guess, what do we make of Duck Hodges, the third-string quarterback last year for Pittsburgh?
Your other quarterback, I'm just telling you.
I ordered a pizza last night.
I gave you these numbers.
Duck Hodges delivered a pizza to my house last night. That's how bad he was with the Steelers.
Greg, did you know the numbers with his bad?
Mason Rudolph
I'm
was
asking
the starter.
you. Did you know the numbers with his bad?
Do you know how much of an upgrade that is?
Oh, you don't want to look at the numbers.
And Rob, you're missing this. Football is not just offense. It's also this thing called defense. And guess what the Steelers were according to Football Outsiders, number 3 in the NFL. 3rd against the rush, 3rd against the pass. That's how they were 8-8. But then you throw in Duck Hodges, throwing these ducks up there. If you watch that Buffalo Bills game, I don't know how you can even sign that guy on the roster again, okay? The Pittsburgh Steelers, as Greg Jennings said, are a playoff team next year. 100% lock it up. It's happening.
I didn't pick them to be a playoff team last year, and I'm not so quick with Ben coming back to think that they're automatically going to be in the playoff hunt again.
Another reason why I will say is Big Ben we've questioned his leadership. Even with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, He's
admitted that he wasn't the best leader.
My point. He didn't get a chance to really be the leader that he wanted to become and be for that team last year. And I think sitting out a full season practically, it bodes well for him at this place at this stage in his career at 38 years old. He went a whole year being unscathed. So we know how smart he is. We know his ability. Can he stay healthy? And then can he lead the right way with a young team, with guys that they're putting around him, and show them how to win? Because he has won. So he knows what it looks like, because he has experience with what it looks like. He's done it. So I like Ben. I don't care about those numbers. I know what he provides
That's
me.
because you like him, but I'm talking about, shouldn't stats count when you look at a guy? I'm asking you.
The thing about stats, we can all make stats.
No. The most 30 touchdown interceptions, the most.
How about this, Greg? Stats are like a bikini. They show a lot, but they don't show everything. Big Ben is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He wasn't great 2 years ago. He wasn't outstanding. But as Greg said, top 10 quarterback in the league. And how come what do you have against old people, Rob? Let me ask you. You want out with Tom Brady. You want to dump Drew Brees. And now you're saying Big Ben's old.
You want me to show you my AARP card?
Show it to me.
Show it to you.
Give some love to the old guys.
Let me explain to you how this works. If you're an opponent and you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, let's say you're playing them last year, and you look at their offense, you're on the defensive roster of the opposing team, and you're looking at their offense, you have players that you have to watch. How many players did they have to watch out for on the Pittsburgh Steelers offense last year? Not many. Not many. Why? Juju was in and out of the lineup, so if he was in, Juju Smith-Schuster. Stop Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner. Let your quarterback win. Let's see if the quarterback Mason Rudolph can beat us. Or, as he said, Duke delivering the pieces.
I get all that.
But when you insert Ben Roethlisberger, everything now changes for a defense. Because of all those numbers that you're talking about and everything that we've known him to be able to do, we know he can still potentially do those things. So we're concerning ourselves with a quarterback that can extend the play better than anyone we've seen and then still get the ball down the field and be effective. That's what makes them so different when you have a quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger inserted in an offense that was struggling because of a lack of quarterback play.
But also, you can't be afraid to move away from people. This is what people do. They like something that's familiar, even though they haven't had success. And I'm talking about with AB and Le'Veon Bell. Were they winning Super Bowls? With the
they
talent
did win a Super Bowl. Big Ben won a Super Bowl.
I'm not with AB.
No, he did not.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Antonio Brown's all of a sudden the greatest receiver ever?
He had 6 of the greatest years ever put together by a receiver. My point is, when you look at it, there's nothing to move on from Ben when I'm giving you his 5 and 6 in the playoffs, 15 touchdowns, and 14 turnovers.
You know they were losing.
That's Big Ben's number.
I don't have the exact losses.
Those aren't good numbers.
The opponent, and probably most of those, is the New England Patriots, the greatest dynasty in NFL history. I'm sorry that Belichick outcoached Mike Tomlin every single time they match up.
Is that what it was?
You're going to pin it all on Big Ben.
Or Big Ben didn't play well?
Well, Belichick's a great defensive guy.
Did he play well against the Patriots?
Combination of both.
He was awful.
Belichick did the same thing to Peyton Manning. He's a great coach, man.
But you extended Ben Roethlisberger knowing that, okay, we have time to develop Mason Rudolph or find our guy, and they believe that Mason Rudolph can potentially be that guy. But as of right now, they know that we can still wring some more of this, whatever's left in Ben Roethlisberger, out. And let's see if it works. If it doesn't, we're not tied to him long term.
Oh, I get it.
So we don't have to throw him away and cast him away.
Could you see him getting, if he gets off to a slow start, or say, they struggle early on, of them maybe making a move during the season?
No.
Or no, would have to play it all the way out?
No, he would have to be downright terrible for them to make a move. But I don't see him being that bad. And when you look at what Mason Rudolph didn't provide them, he didn't show enough to where they're going to be so quick to pull the trigger on Ben Roethlisberger because they want to start the future of their franchise with Mason Rudolph. He didn't look that good.
Now, I'll give you this. If they go out and draft a quarterback, say in the 2nd or 3rd round this year, because what they saw from Rudolph and Duck Hodges they didn't like, I'll give you that. Maybe there is a plan. But right now, it's Big Ben's job.
Yeah, I think that they should look at that as you go forward. You have to evaluate, because he's not going to be there that long. And if he has another...
Tom Brady's 42. Drew Brees is, what, 40,
I don't look at him. I don't look at Ben the same way I look at Tom Brady.
He doesn't have the same workout ethic as Tom Brady. That's for sure.
I don't buy that.
There's a point for Rob Parker.
No mercy.
Paul George missed most of the game last night for the Celtics after leaving with a hamstring injury in the second quarter. LA still forced the game to go to double overtime, but Kawhi just couldn't keep up with Jason Tatum. Tatum dropped 39 points, led the Celtics to a nice 8-point win. By the way, Patrick Beverley also missed this game with a nagging groin issue. Clippers are hurt. We're now joined by Fox Sports radio host Doug Gottlieb. Doug, well, the Clippers' injuries keep them from getting past the Lakers in the Western Conference.
I don't believe they will. I don't believe the injuries are what's going to hold them back. I mean, that's the whole reason they're doing this load management stuff, right? I mean, Paul George, could he have gone more last night with the hamstring? Probably, but what's the point? We got the All-Star break, get the extra rest. Pat Beverley, could he have gone last night? Probably. It gives Landry Shamet a chance to play in a game which I think we'd all concur that was a playoff caliber game, right? Last two nights, we've had playoff caliber games. Denver, Lakers, playoff type atmosphere. Celtics, Clippers, playoff type atmosphere. And by the way, both games went to overtime. They were outstanding. That's just how close in proximity these teams are, especially on those home courts. But I don't think the injuries will be what holds them back. On the other hand, Paul George getting hurt is like a yearly thing, right? It's like the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. He's hurt again, and that's what they're guarding against. Their whole investment in this team, in Kawhi, in Paul George, in load management, is to protect against those injuries. I do think it works.
Wow.
And so for me, I think this will be and could possibly very well be what holds them from getting to where they want to go. The Lakers being another reason why. But focusing on just them as injuries, they started out the season without Paul George. It impacts and affects chemistry right out the gate.
Sure.
When you look at the load managing, I get it. We've seen Kawhi do this last year and insert himself again with a team that had a core group of guys who understood how to play together. Now you're adding so many moving parts. You now have acquired Marcus Morris, who you want to see how he fits in with what we do. And we know what he brings to the table, but we don't know how we can pull out what best fits to where we can have the most success. With Paul George being out, with Kawhi being in and out of the lineup, with Pat Beverley being in and out of the lineup, with Lou Williams not being in all the time, you want to have these guys together so that you know what you have as a coach moving forward. I know what button to push. I know what lineup works best. I know when to switch out the lineup and move to a certain guy. But if I don't have all these pieces at my disposal and I'm hoping I can go into a game every single week with this, then it puts added stress on me. It puts added stress on the others to fill roles. And then when those roles are then now taken off of their plate because now Paul George comes back,
yep.
Kawhi comes into the game, he's going to play tonight, Marcus Morris is inserted. It changes the landscape of who you are and how you want to operate.
Look, Rob, it's a really smart point that he's making, right? It's hard to have a team where you don't know who's doing what and what their role is. On the other hand, knowing people on that Clippers bench, they've told me they planned for this. Like, we knew we were only going to get Kawhi for 60 games. We knew Paul George coming off of dual shoulder surgery, he's not going to play. And I think while that could be a weakness in terms of the cohesiveness and not knowing your role, I think it could also be a strength because there are going to be nights when Landry Shamet's going to have to help carry them, when Lou Williams
and then they're getting those opportunities.
And you need those. You're going to need one of those guys for one game in the playoffs when PG doesn't have it or Kawhi doesn't have it.
And here's the other part. All the stuff you're talking about, look at where they are. They're third. They're still winning. The team that's in front of them that everybody's saying is going to win the championship, they've beaten twice. They've beaten the Lakers without having all this together. So it's about trying to get this together as you enter the playoffs. And, Greg, I get it. In a perfect world, you have everybody's healthy, you get to do all that and tinker and everything, but that's not how it works. It comes down to getting into the playoffs and then the guys who you've put together being ready to play and produce when that time
So, Doug,
comes.
let me ask you this. Last year, the Clippers, Rob loves to say they pushed the Warriors to 6. Lou Williams was their guy, unstoppable.
Yeah.
With Paul George and Kawhi there, Lou becomes kind of a third option. It was weird last night. In the huddle, Lou Williams is calling for the ball, telling him what to do. Kawhi Leonard over here just did nothing. I mean, he was blitzed. He would switch easily off the screens, almost like he wanted no part of Jason Tatum. I just wonder about this chemistry Greg's talking about. Is Lou Williams going to say, man, I'm a 15-year vet. I got to get mine. I need a title. Kawhi just got his championship. He's load managing. I don't know. Your thoughts on...
Well, look, Lou Williamson is what we call thirsty, right? Like, he wants the ball. He wants to get buckets. I think he was right to be upset. What should have been an and one call when he hit the three in the corner. That's old school continuation. No matter what Gordon Hayward was trying to do, that was a foul on the shot. I actually think that's the hardest part about this Clippers team is they do have a lot of guys. Like, everybody wants the ball. Whereas with the Lakers, everybody knows who's going to have the ball. There's a set pecking order. I do think it's interesting that we're giving the Lakers the pass in terms of injuries when, I mean, Anthony Davis has been hurt seemingly every year. Rajon Rondo, when he was with the Bulls, they're beating the Celtics, he gets hurt. And even LeBron has very rarely hurt, but of course, in his last NBA Finals, he hurt his thumb, or at least he told us his thumb was hurt
after he lost.
When they lost in the playoffs.
He had a full body cast.
By the way,
who was the second best player on that team? J.R. Smith? Stop.
But the point is this, though. It's the composition of the teams are very different. Right? With the Lakers, it's LeBron, and he's going to give the ball to Anthony Davis or give the ball to whomever he sees fit. With the Clippers, it's one pork chop and a bunch of dogs fighting over that bone. And that's the way they work, and that's the way they function. To tell you I know how it's going to play out, I do think it was interesting that they did kind of freeze Kawhi out. But we don't know if Kawhi wasn't feeling it, if Lou was.
Hey, 27 shots for Kawhi Leonard. He had 28 points. That's not efficient.
No, but look, it's a law of averages, right? You go throughout his career, he's an incredibly efficient player, an efficient scorer.
No question.
And he had a bad night.
And look, like, not mentioned, Jason Tatum was the best player on the floor. You did say it coming in. He's only 21 years old. And you can give Danny Ainge all the grief you want, but the draft day trade, to trade down from 1 to 3 and get Jason Tatum, goes down as one of the all-timers. And I think the Celtics, we're dismissing them as finals contenders coming out of the East.
You hear that, guys?
Yeah,
keep going.
I hear it.
No, I mean...
Can they take down the Bucks?
I think they have a more diverse set of weapons than the Bucks do. The Bucks are completely dependent upon Giannis to get in the lane and create. And we take the Lakers game where Giannis stepped up and made 5 threes. Like, oh, he can shoot now. Like, no, he can't. Go and look at what he's done since. I still think that limits them. I think his ability to get foul calls in the playoffs is like James Harden. It limits them. Like, there's a reason that the Bucks have not taken that next step. And I think, playing around one guy who is not yet a refined shooter is a limiting factor, as opposed to the Celtics, who have talent, have multiple guys you can throw at Giannis. And I know Kemba missed coming down the stretch, but everyone I know thought that shot was going in regulation because he's Kemba Walker. This team has better chemistry. We all believe in Brad. At least I believe in Brad.
Did you pick the Celtics at the start of the season?
I thought they were going to be very, very good. I see no reason to think they can't come out of the East. I think those are the two teams, Celtics and Bucks, most likely to come out of the East. I don't think the Raptors are legit finals.
And
Philly, no? You're not feeling Philly?
They're interesting. When they want to go.
When they want to go.
When they want to go. And like, look, there's a little of Shaq and Kobe there, where maybe they need a better maestro to get them to, you go, now I go, and they're struggling with space. But we've seen them flex their muscles, what they did to the Clippers the other night.
But when they go on the road and they have the same road record as the Knicks, that's telling, isn't it?
Yes, it's also telling of their immaturity off the floor. I think it's that the one story that we don't know and we can only guess is that whatever they're doing off the floor, not getting themselves prepared to play, you can't be that good at home. You can't be that talented.
25-2 at home and terrible on the road.
And I think Joel Embiid is the most talented dude in the NBA. Like, they don't make 7'1" dudes that can handle, shoot, post, defend the rim. Like, he does it all. I know we're all about the guards, okay, but this guy can do everything, a modern-day big guy. But you can't have the variances unless there's something going on in terms of diet, going out, being hangout guys. I still think Ben Simmons needs to let some fly. Don't be afraid to miss. Giannis missed for his first 3-4 years of shooting threes. They're the team that could go out in the first round, or they're the team that could go to the finals.
So I like the Boston Celtics. I like the way they've been constructed. Kemba Walker's clearly a better fit than Kyrie Irving because of the camaraderie that he provides and just his ability to play make and not want to take every single shot and play iso ball. For me, I like the Bucks. I like the Bucks, and you talk about Giannis not being able to step out and shoot, but he has so many shooters around him.
Yes.
To where they're going to open the lane. That is their plan. That is their strategy. That is their identity. Let Giannis do what he does, attack the rim, and kick it to 7-footer Brook Lopez who's going to take out whoever they're playing, their opponent shot blocker at the rim. Like, in Chris Middleton, I don't think he gets enough credit. This is his second consecutive All-Star appearance now. Like, and he's been nothing short of a nice compliment to wherever he's been. He's a great shooter. He didn't get it going last year in the postseason. Get it. We live and we learn. Hopefully he grows from that. Giannis didn't do what he felt like he should have done in that Toronto series. You live and you learn, and you add to what that is that you've learned. And with Giannis, I think his mentality alone of thinking and belief of, I'm the reigning guy in this East. So you have to come by me. You have to get by me. I don't think he's afraid of anyone in the East or in the West for that matter. And I think it's going to be a challenge for teams to step up that level of mentality, of way of thinking, that they can just walk into Milwaukee, who's a home team and away team.
And the pocket protectors are all saying that statistically, analytically, they're the greatest right now, putting together the greatest season, the Bucks, of anybody. Are you buying that? Do you see that?
No, but that's okay. I mean, great, regular. Who gets the number one seed in the East has never been a determinant in who actually plays in the finals.
Well, LeBron was there.
I think no, but he didn't always get the number one.
He did, but everybody knew he was coming at it.
But also the last 2 years, the last two champions were in the number one seed. It doesn't mean anything.
And we can dismiss the Sixers all we want. The Kawhi shot hit the front rim twice, the back rim twice. The back. Now it would have gone to overtime. It's a tie game, but that's how close those two teams are. Look, Chris Middleton being an all-star ahead of Brad Beal is a joke. Right? I love the Chris Middleton
Doesn't winning
story.
matter to you, Doug? Or does it not? Because I'm serious. Isn't it different scoring points and putting up numbers on a bad team,
Look,
right?
It's a completely different league, the games that don't matter. On the other hand, Brad Beal's a bucket.
No, I get it.
No question. I'm not at all taking Chris Middleton over Bradley Beal.
Trae Young being on the All-Star.
Yeah.
Now, Trae Young, that's when you're statistically the worst defender in the league. I don't care what you do offensively. There's a reason your team's losing. But my point is that I think, and I love the Chris Middleton story. I remember he's at A&M, and he was a first-round pick.
He came through Detroit as well.
Right? I mean, he's bounced around. He found a perfect home and found his confidence. But I think the playoffs exposes who you really are, and he's just not of the caliber of the other number twos in the league. And what we're underselling about the Celtics is Gordon Hayward. We are. I mean, you think about the plays. Gordon Hayward made a big block last night, hit a big three last night. Look, is he ever going to be as valuable as the number one free agent on the market like he was when he signed with the Celtics? No. But he was an all-star in the West, legit all-star in the West. And if he's your third best player, if he's your best player, you got a problem. If he's your third best player or your fourth best player, which at times he can be, that's a hell of a team. Then you combine a coach that I think we all agree is a bit of a savant in Brad Stevens. Like, I like this team.
Still got to win eventually.
I want to go back to the Clippers, Doug. So you coach your kid in basketball. I coach my son. When you go to practice, you develop these habits, right? And you build good habits, and they translate to the game. In the NBA, we got just 18 games so far out of 55 for the Clippers core four. Now they add Marcus Morris. Doug, Greg and I seem to be in lockstep here. This team is not able to develop this cohesiveness when Kawhi is load managing because he's a diva and Paul George is hurt every week and Patrick Beverley's hurt. You can't just expect them to go into the postseason and dominate. Oh, we got Kawhi and Paul George. You're crowning them, Rob. You have them in the finals.
I'm not saying that they're going to sweep every series.
No, but you have them rolling through everybody.
I believe when you talk about beating somebody 4 out of 7, that's what it comes down to.
Look at how badly they've struggled against Utah in both matchups.
And you know what? The one team that's in their way is the Lakers. And what have they done, Doug, with this non-chemistry and not being a cohesive unit?
2 fourth quarters, Kawhi Leonard.
But they've won the game.
I'm going to throw what you say at you all the time. It's the regular season.
Yes.
But they've won
the regular
those games
season game.
Wait, but you guys are just saying the regular season matters.
Right.
They have to play together.
What matters for building chemistry and cohesiveness?
You're not wrong in terms of building. But again, Like, and don't call Kawhi a diva. Because
Right.
He is. He don't want to load manage. And when he goes to talk to the Lakers, I want a private jet at all times.
That's negotiation. That has nothing to do with it.
That's coming from Kawhi.
Hey,
he won his championship,
If
dude.
you don't ask,
You won't
can't
get it.
That's diva mentality.
No one has ever gotten anything in negotiation. They did not ask for it.
Very true.
I could have got my own dressing room.
Why? What?
Why not ask for my own dressing room?
Fact.
New clothes? Shoes?
For all these dogs they got in the locker room, Lou Williams, Marcus Morris, then they're looking over at this guy load managing. I'm just saying, I can foresee.
You're literally the only one who thinks
That's
that
fine.
Kawhi
I
Leonard
like
is a
being
diva.
on an island.
Okay, you're on McIntyre.
McIntyre
No, he's on
Island.
Gilligan's
And
Island.
I
That's
see a
how
couple
funny
of
it
boats.
is.
I see Nick Wright coming my way. I see Colin Cowherd. They're all coming this way.
To the extent of being a diva. Look, it worked for him last year. It's like the guy who scores. It's where it's Lou Williams or pick the bench player, and they're a finisher, but they don't want to start because it doesn't work for them. This works for him. I'm telling you, the Clippers prepared for this. They knew that, hey, we're not going to be the best team in November, in December, and yet we want to be the best team in April, May, and June.
There you go.
Now, does that work? The TBD. Okay. Again, we're depending upon Paul George, who, shocker, is hurt again. Kawhi Leonard to not be hurt. And the other part that I don't think people have mentioned enough is we're acting as if Paul George and the rest, non-Kawhi, of the Clippers are going to make shots in the playoffs that they have not made. The one thing we learn about the NBA is, like, you have to have done it and done it before in order to do it again, generally. And look around. Like, Pat Beverly is a great talker. He's the heart and soul of that team. Okay, but he ain't done anything in the playoffs.
LeBron's done a lot, though, Doug.
No, LeBron has done it.
Right.
Now, again, Anthony Davis hasn't done it, so we don't know how he performs. Rondo, playoff Rondo, we'll see if he still has that. He's got Avery Bradley. He's playing better. We don't know. But we're determining what somebody's going to look like in the playoffs for many of these teams that we have not seen in the playoffs before, and it's just a different level of basketball.
No mercy. The Thunder got the win over the Pelicans, but Zion Williamson was electric last night. Coming off a previous career high of 31, Zion set a new career high, dropped 32 to go along with highlight reel play after highlight reel play. Going into the All-Star break, the Pelicans are 5.5 games behind the Grizzlies for the 8th spot in the West. Doug, can superstar Zion Williamson lead the Pelicans team to the playoffs this year?
No. Well, no, because he's not actually their leader. Brandon Ingram is their leader, but he's kind of Lamar Jacksoning the NBA. People are having trouble adjusting. He's playing center or playing power forward, and he's just too quick and athletic for big guys, and he's too strong for if you put anybody his size on him. And I do think that teams will start to adjust to what they're doing and how they're doing, but anywhere time he's around the rim, they just throw it to the rim, and he jumps quicker and stronger than anybody else and finishes. I think it was a little bit of fool's gold, the shooting in the first game. He hasn't hit a three since his first game. And, I still am cautious about how many minutes you want to put on his body at his weight because he doesn't look any slimmer. I like
Is he in shape or not, Doug? Can you tell? I mean, I hear people say that. Wait till he gets in shape.
He's big-boned, right?
Big-boned.
He's big-boned,
right,
as they say in the South. I don't think he is in optimal shape. Okay, I would not have, when I saw him the first night that he played, I thought, and I've had other people say there's this kind of walking thought, maybe he can't lose the weight. Maybe this is just his body type, and he's always played it, but it's so much pounding. It's not like he doesn't, like he's always above the rim. He's always using his athletic skills to success. So that's putting torque on those hips and knees and back. Now, he's going to have time off here. Hopefully, if I was the Pelicans, I'd shut him down here for a week and get all that stuff out of his system and let him get back regenerated. But I think the hill's probably too big to climb. It's a talented team, but it's awesome to watch him play because he's kind of freaking the league out. Like, wait, a 6'5.5" dude can in fact dominate at center.
30th easiest schedule of all 30 teams the rest of the way. The Memphis Grizzlies have the first, much to the chagrin of Rob Parker.
Most difficult schedule?
Yeah. I mean, the Pelicans for me.
That's not the only team.
There's other teams in their way.
Listen, are you worried about the Spurs?
The Spurs. I'm just saying
Portland's
there's other
turning it on,
teams.
but they've really struggled.
But there are other teams in the way. It's not just them catching Memphis.
None of them have Zion
And he
Williamson.
throttled the Portland Trail. Like Hassan Whiteside didn't know what to do.
Nobody can guard this guy in the league. Nobody. That is a great Lamar Jackson. Maybe the best comparison, Doug, you've had that I've ever heard. Lamar Jacksoning the league. That's what's happening.
Well, it's just because, the league, though everyone's trying to play small ball, and none so much as the Houston Rockets, right? But no one has this weapon, right? It's like if you could combine the passing skills of Draymond, the athleticism of like LeBron in
Zach
his
Levine,
youth,
I don't know.
just this fierce competitive rebounder, and he can score in the post like a Barkley could at a similar size. Like you put all of that together, and it's really hard. And then he can switch. Everybody wants to switch in the NBA, and instead of switching 1 through 4, now he can switch 1 through 5. And while most guys, Draymond Green can switch out on the floor, he doesn't really defend the rim. This guy does. He blocks shots.
He bullied Steven Adams last night, one of the toughest guys in the league, Greg.
Yeah, look, I'm not sold on them getting to the 8th seed either, and for a couple different reasons. When I look at this team, again, you alluded to them having a huge mountain to climb. I think that's one of the reasons, but I think more than anything is they're such a young team, Doug. You have to learn how to win and win close games, and that's what I don't think this team going down the stretch will be able to do. Maybe next year, but there's a learning curve that comes with winning, and sometimes it's losing those close games. You've played sports all your life. You've seen it. You understand how that goes. Do you think that plays any part of them not being able to get into that 8th seed?
Maybe, but I also the thing that's hard to understand is what teams, when you get to the second half of the year, are actually trying to win. Because we're going to get to that point here in March when a good portion of the teams in the NBA who are not, if not already tanking, they're going to be tanking and just playing younger players, or however you want to term it. So, yeah, you have to learn how to win. But I do think, look, we're underselling how good Brandon Ingram's been this year.
He's been great.
Lonzo Ball looks
better.
Looks like what I think many of us thought he could be, and he's a great weapon to have with Zion because from any place on the court, he can throw it to the rim to this guy. I don't, and J.J. Redick is a hard guy to win in the NBA playoffs with, but in the regular season, because he can stretch the floor and open it up, I think he's a viable weapon. Yeah, look, the last thing you have to learn is how to win, right? You learn all this other stuff, and then how to win is something you only really get through trial and error, and these guys haven't had the trial and error. That's what you're saying. I agree with it.
Are you on Jason's superstar after 10 games? He's a superstar like Jeremy Lin was a superstar, too. He's on Sports Illustrated twice in 2 weeks.
Woo!
All I'm saying is pump the brakes on, and I'm not saying he's not a good player.
Let me just say this.
Oh, here we go. Wait, I can't wait
Superstar, Doug, superstar after 10 games.
I went to the dictionary. I won't go there again.
just
Too
not
many
buying
people
that.
angry at me. Is Zion Williamson already a superstar?
Yes.
Yeah, that's 3-1, Parker.
Yes.
All of us on the same
I'm
side.
very disappointed.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
Zion Williamson's playing at Staples Center. You're going to go watch?
No, but that's not.
No, wait,
you want to talk about?
I asked you a question.
No, I'm not going.
Senator, answer the question.
He's not going.
You're not going?
No, I'm going to go.
You wouldn't go see the Zion show?
I wanted to wait and see the Kings play.
Oh, yeah.
I'm asking you an honest question.
Of course I would go see, but that doesn't make him a superstar. It's
Yes,
more
it does.
than that.
No.
No, he's a commodity, a hot commodity. He's the new hotness in the league. Yes, I want to see him in person. That doesn't make him the superstar of the league. It just doesn't.
No.
There's one thing about being popular, Doug,
Yes.
and being curious to see him in person. I get all that. There's a lot of things. I want to go to the circus at Staples Center. That doesn't mean the fat lady's a superstar.
It's a combination, Rob.
First of all, we don't. The circus, I think, has kind of gone under. Second of all, we say, what is it? Genetically
Being
obese or genetically challenged.
Okay.
Third of all,
Is there no more circus?
I'm not.
Where have I been?
I think Barnum and Bailey is. I think it's going to be gone, right? Everything's about. What's the deal at Dodger Stadium? They have the new show. Anyway,
Go ahead.
My thought is this. I don't think he's one of the top 10 players in the NBA, but that wasn't the question that was asked.
Yeah. Is he a superstar?
Is he a superstar? Look, he was a YouTube sensation who goes to Duke.
I get all that.
And he's as good or better. He made Duke likable.
Yes.
You know how hard that is?
Highest
Really
ratings
hard.
in the NCAA tournament last year were for Zion.
Forget about ratings. Just
That's just another part of the
it was that you liked watching Duke because you wanted to watch that kid. Then he sits out and you're like, I don't know, maybe he's a little heavy. And then he's got 31 on Steven Adams and the Thunder, and you can't wait to see what he does next. He's a superstar. He's a guy he's a guy I won't pay money to see almost anyone play in sports because the greatest part of this job is I can call somebody, get a ticket. I pay money to see that kid play.
Look, and what makes people superstars is when you have this great expectation of them, and they live up to it.
After 10 games?
Has he not?
After 10 games?
Is he not living up to what
I can give you a list. I just gave you.
Yeah.
Jeremy Lin. Don't poo-poo Jeremy Lin.
Undrafted kid
that's
is
not fair.
nice.
Listen,
that's
Nobody's
not fair.
poo-pooing Jeremy Lin. I'm a huge Jeremy Lin
Was
fan.
Jeremy Lin not the hottest thing for 2 weeks in the NBA?
He was.
He was.
This is disingenuous.
No, it's not. He's actually right. Okay, good friend of mine, Matt Holliday, who was a 7-time All-Star. I remember him calling me. Remember the last day of the Lin Sanity was they played in Miami. And he tried to he's like, we couldn't get tickets anywhere. And he goes there, and Floyd Mayweather walked in and sit in the front row, like, yes, okay? But Jeremy Lin's a one-hit wonder. He was the Macarena.
No,
right?
I get it.
But I'm just...
Right?
He wasn't... This is going to last.
No,
as long as he doesn't get hurt, this is the real deal.
I'm not saying he's Jeremy Lin. He's going to fade in 2 weeks. I'm just saying...
You just did say he was
No,
Jeremy
I'm
Lin.
just saying be careful with crowning people. The late Dennis Green, I always loved... People always want to crown people after a short sample size, a small sample size.
I'm not crowning him. I'm not crowning him a first team All-NBA.
He's not.
So what? I guess it depends on what is your.
I don't look at
How many games does he need? Does he need 50? Does he need 100?
Forget about that. No, forget about that. Does your kid want to buy his shoes? Does your kid want his jersey?
He's marketable. No, there's a lot of guys who are marketable.
No, they're not.
Yes,
there's actually not a lot of guys that are marketable.
That whole idea.
Zion Williamson
crowning him as some superstar of the NBA, and he's played a handful of games.
Zion had not played a game.
He's been great so far, but my goodness.
And his jersey was number 15 in the NBA.
What does that mean?
Hey, Rob.
People love him. He's a star.
Rob, I brought you something. It's an L.
Is that right? I'm not taking an L.
It's okay.
It'll be the first one in my career.
If Zion walked on the lot right now, you'd be one of the first people picking up your phone, trying to get him on your
Yes, he would. I followed you on IG.
You know that. I'm not a fanboy. You don't see pictures of me and athletes.
I see pictures of you in a suit and your Jordans and everything everywhere you go. If Zion Williamson walks, he's right. The guy's he's at least a star. He's at least a star.
All right, I'll give you a star. Superstar, no. It's more about winning, being able to... No, there's a lot more.
That's
Did you have to wait
superstar.
7 years for Michael Jordan to be a superstar?
No.
Because he didn't win anything.
I'll ask you a question.
How long do you wait?
Look.
He won games, though. I mean,
Okay.
they're not even winning. He had 32 points. They lost. You telling me he's a superstar?
Yes.
Anybody could score 32 and lose.
Because they lost?
Greg, I'm not just saying just because.
That's what you just said.
No, but I'm just saying, you're going to crown a guy because he put up stats?
No, there's no crowning.
There's a lot of people who put up stats.
There's no crowning here. There's no crowning, okay? Damian Lillard's a great NBA player, perennial all-star. He's playing at Staples. Are you flocking to get tickets? No. Zion comes, and you are.
He's the new hotness, first overall pick. He played at Duke. Everybody watched the YouTube. There's all these other things that go there.
Right.
But that doesn't mean he's a superstar.
What about what he's doing on the floor?
That doesn't mean he's an all-NBA player.
30-point games, fourth teenager in the last 30 years, Rob. Goodness.
Brandon Jennings scored more points in his first 10 games
And that's our cue.
All right.
Brandon Jennings.
He did.
Yeah,
I know, you're right.
Okay.
Doug, thank you very much.
No mercy.
At age 42, Tom Brady has built his TB12 brand around longevity. However, the NFL Network reported multiple NFL executives are concerned about Brady's sustainability. The six-time Super Bowl champ hasn't missed a game due to injury since he tore his ACL in 2008. We're now joined by former NFL running back Rashad Jennings. Rashad, do you think this gives the Patriots an out to get rid of Tom Brady?
To answer the question directly, I'm not sure if it gives an out because they don't need an out. They're coming up to a contract, so they can just continue to allow him to walk away without needing an out. And then most of the time in the NFL, as you can attest to it, they're never evaluating you for reasons why they want to keep you. They're always constantly evaluating you for reasons why we can let you walk. And with that, I don't think Brady is a guy that you can just let walk, nor do I think they want to allow him to walk. It just comes down to a finance thing. Is he going to be able to get the money that he wants that's applicable to who he wants to play for? So for Brady to leave, though, I think it's kind of tough. I think it's kind of tough because everybody talk about his sustainability. And I don't think it's fair when a guy that's won as many Super Bowls as he's won. I think the fair question is Belichick sustainable without him? Belichick has never won a Super Bowl as a head coach without him. And Brady knows how to stay healthy. He wouldn't be able to build this brand TB12 if he wasn't being able to stay sustainable. And I looked at a stat that's kind of cool. It's interesting. Quarterbacks that's thrown the football under 2.5 seconds in their career. They just took a statistics of all the completions. Brady has a completion of 80%. The next quarterback, Phillip Rivers, plays 17 going into 18 years. He has 74. And the third, with a drop-off of the number, is Peyton Manning at 68%. So he knows how to take care of himself because he gets the ball out. He doesn't get hit. He can get down. So sustainability is something you could throw out the window. He's a clutch player. He's obviously the GOAT. He's always going to be arguably the
He's
best
not the
quarterback.
GOAT. Joe Montana's the GOAT.
Man, it's an argument. It's going to always be a fair argument.
It is.
Always a fair argument.
Joe Montana, 4-0, 11 touchdowns, no picks, 3 MVPs, and 2 of the Super Bowls. He had to throw touchdowns and not wait for Adam Vinatieri to run out. That's all I'm saying.
He's come back clutch, though. When you look at Brady, what he
Brady's
was able to
been
do.
very lucky throughout his career. just the facts.
As a fan of the game, though, that's why I want to see him have a division with the Patriots, to go somewhere else, and let's see between Belichick and Brady, which one was the biggest piece to the puzzle.
I think it's too late for that. But I'll let you go, Rob, since I know you don't feel the same way.
No, when it comes to other teams, like looking at Tom Brady, you know what you're getting. It's like when Peyton Manning, his last 2 years, he went to Denver and they won a Super Bowl, even though he was the Tin Man in the Super Bowl and had 90 yards and couldn't move around. You know what I mean? And just didn't. He was carried along by the defense. If I'm the Chargers, I would be willing to take a chance on Tom Brady for 2 years. I think it makes sense. They have some good receivers. They have a running game. They have a decent defense. And they need to sell tickets. They would be selling Tom Brady jerseys and all that.
But
and I'm not looking for that.
what are the Patriots doing if they don't bring back Brady? What's your plan B?
My point is with the Patriots and Tom Brady is that I don't think they want Tom Brady back. If they wanted Tom Brady back, they would have worked this out. I'm serious. I do not believe it. Why is Tom Brady making all these moves, packing up the family and moving to Connecticut, and his trainer's selling his house, and Tom Brady, everybody, all the stories that come out, Tom Brady was disrespected all these years. He never got paid as a star quarterback. He wants money now. He was given a hometown discount for decades. Now at 43, he wants them to ante up. So all of the things to me line up. If Robert Kraft and Tom Brady have a father-son relationship or whatever, we can hash this out. Whatever it takes, Tom, let's just make this done. Tom doesn't have to go around and send out cryptic messages on social media. Oh, people think that's him walking out of Gillette Stadium. What is Tom Brady going to do? This is all we're talking about. If this was about Tom Brady finish his career there and they're just saying, we're going with you for the next couple of years. He said he wanted to play to 45. Mm-hmm. What they do? They gave him a bogus contract with the last 2 years with no value to it, right? They could have easily signed him to a 3-year deal, even at 43 years old, 44, whatever it is, to say, you've done all this for us the last 20 years. You took less money. You won 6 Super Bowls. We don't want you to wear any other uniform, and we're just going to pay you at the end. And I keep bringing it up. You guys always poo-poo it. That's what the Bulls did to Michael Jordan. They paid him later on in his career big money because he didn't make the money he was supposed to make.
Situation.
No, it ain't.
Yeah, it is.
You can reward Tom Brady if you want to.
Completely different dynamics, Rob. This is not in no way an out for the New England Patriots. And the reason why it's not an out, because they know everything that you said with his ability to get rid of the ball, his ability
Did you watch him last
his
year?
work ethic. They know him inside and out. They know what makes him tick. They know the most important thing to Tom Brady is what? Winning. Which is why they've stayed together, which is why Jimmy Garoppolo was gone because of Kraft, the ownership, because he knew how important Tom Brady was to that organization to continue winning. He didn't want to experiment like a lot of teams would have done with a younger guy. And I get it. You want them to move on so you can see him with the Chargers. I don't mind that, but the biggest concern for me is when you look at the New England Patriots, if you let Tom Brady walk, what are you doing at quarterback now? What are you saying to the rest of your guys? Like, okay, we know the direction that we're headed. We know what we want to implement. Are we going to go get Marcus Mariota, who hasn't proven anything? Are we going to go get a Ryan Tannehill or a Teddy Bridgewater?
You said Bill Belichick's the greatest coach? Is that what you said?
He is.
All right, so then you give Bill Belichick another guy and see if Bill Belichick can develop this guy and win without Tom Brady. It's right there. You have the coach to do it.
Rob Parker, it doesn't matter who he goes and gets. If the personnel stays the same around him, the same result is going to yield you. So if you can't win with Tom Brady with this personnel or the lack thereof, then you're not going to insert a Marcus Mariota.
You think Bill Belichick believes he can't win without Tom Brady?
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I don't believe that. But they have to get better personnel with whatever decision that they decide to make.
They'll make some other decisions. He's 43. They were the worst 8-0 team I ever saw in the NFL.
Stop that,
All
bro.
he ever did was put up numbers. He put up numbers against also-rans and bad teams that were filled in the NFL. They weren't a good team. I picked that they weren't even going to make it out of the first round.
Let me ask Rashad about.
Congratulations.
They keep talking about the money, Rashad. He's never been the highest-paid quarterback in the league. Maybe Tom Brady was taking less so they could, build around him.
Yeah.
That's why
maybe Tom Brady takes less again. So maybe it's not about money. Do you think it's money or winning or respect? We've seen some respect.
Yeah, I think the word respect comes into play. Everybody knows Brady is taking less for the team. He's done a lot for their team and organization, and so it's time to ante up. And for him never to be, how you going to arguably have the best quarterback to play the game and he's never been the highest paid and he's played for this long? At some point you would think he would have been the highest. So for him, he's being selfless. And this is a stage at the age of 42 where I think I personally believe there's been some conversations that the media will never know because Brady knows how to handle himself behind the scenes where there's been shots at each other. And I think he's at the point where, listen, I'm going to play everybody's cards. The Patriots have to convince him to stay.
Yeah, because this team wasn't very good last year, right?
Yeah, I mean, they lost Gronk, right? They didn't have Gronk. The offense, they lost Gronk. They didn't have Josh Gordon out there like they expected. AB went through his situation. Edelman had, I think, the most drop balls by a starting receiver. And so when you add up all of that, what else do you want Brady to do?
That right there, what you just said, they have to convince him in ways of not only monetarily, but with how you're constructing this roster and the personnel. Because everything that Brady has provided them in the past, he can't provide all of those things. He's not going to be the quarterback that elevates everyone around him any longer. And you can't ask him to do that at 43 years of age when the season starts. And so if you're not going to ask him to do that, there's only one other option. You got to get better quality individuals and talent around him that will support what you already know and believe he can provide you.
Yeah, I still
don't believe he's going to wind
Rob's
up
talking about Montana's the best. He's throwing a Jerry Rice, John Taylor, awesome guys. Tell me the receivers Tom Brady had last year. A rookie who's unproven. Edelman, I think he's 33, as you said, led the league in drops.
Brady also had one of the greatest kickers in the NFL history in Adam Vinatieri. Go look at those first 3 Super Bowls. How'd they win them?
Who drove them down the field?
How do you get in that position?
I was just about to say.
I'm just saying.
That's part of the game.
It ain't automatic.
Yeah.
Ask the Buffalo Bills if it's automatic to get in position.
That's
all
true.
right?
It's not automatic.
What would have happened if the Buffalo Bills made that field goal?
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Well, I'm just trying to tell you. Or if Adam Vinatieri missed those kicks, you wouldn't be sitting there telling me Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback ever.
Let's go back. Rashad said something interesting. You said you think maybe in their meetings there's some shots between Belichick and Brady. Anything that could potentially be, beyond repairable between these two. Do you think he really looks outside and says, hey, the Chargers look kind of attractive, a terrible offensive line, questionable head coach?
Yeah, why not? I mean, Brady's a competitor. He's always got that chip on his shoulders how he came into the league. I think he wants somewhere apart too. I mean, for me, listen, I enjoy a good film. I mean, how great of a film would it be if Brady goes to another team, makes the Super Bowl, and Belichick somehow brings in Andy Dalton or somebody and like figures out how to get in the Super Bowl again and let them compete. I think it'd be great for the NFL and the whole story for next year. But yes, I do believe Brady wants kind of to go somewhere else to kind of let everybody know who he is. He does need more pieces to the puzzle. He can't go to a team that's trying to develop.
Yeah.
He needs somewhere a team with a quarterback. It's just one quarterback away, a couple passes away. He could come in and help you win a Super Bowl.
All right, thanks for coming in, Rashad. You've also got a new book that came out earlier this week, Arcade and the Fiery Metal Tester. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it.
Well
Pick that up.
No mercy. A report surfaced this week that the Detroit Lions had been shopping trades for their 11-year vet quarterback, Matt Stafford. However, Lions GM Bob Quinn addressed the speculation quickly after it was reported, saying it was, quote, 100% false. The first 8 games of last season showed promise in the 32-year-old quarterback's comeback season, throwing 19 TDs and 5 picks. However, Stafford was hurt, missed the second half of the season. The Lions didn't make the playoffs. They have made it to the playoffs only 3 times in 11 years with Stafford and have not won a playoff game. Rob Parker, you're our Detroit guy. Should the Lions move on from Matt Stafford?
Absolutely. And you know, I know there's all the dead money and all these other things. I'm just saying, if you're just going on, should you do something different at quarterback?
Totally
Let's just go there. Absolutely, Greg and Jason. The Lions, look at where they are. He was the first overall pick, had Calvin Johnson. We could go on. And Ndamukong Suh was on that team at one point. He hasn't lived up to it. Does he have a big arm? Absolutely. Has he put up big numbers? Absolutely. But the bottom line is they haven't been able to win. You just said it, 11 years, and they've never won a division since it became the NFC North, never won a division. Stafford is 0-3 in playoff games, and there were situations and circumstances where he could have been that guy and delivered them. Do you remember the Dallas playoff game? There was a bad call in that game.
I remember it. I lost money on that game.
They got the ball back with 2.5 minutes to go and a couple timeouts. He's from suburban Dallas. There was his moment to march them down the field, win that game, right, and move on. Didn't happen. 4 and out. The Lions, the reason that this franchise has won one playoff game since 1957. Imagine that in a league built on parity. One playoff win, 1991 against the Cowboys, since 1957. They keep doing the same thing. They're in love with Matthew Stafford because they're afraid to be that he at least gives them the chance to be 9-7 or 8-8 and be in the mix, even though he hasn't delivered them. There was a time a couple years ago against Green Bay. They could have won the division at home against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Again, a no-show in the biggest game of the year at home. All I'm saying is the Lions should think about it. They have the 3rd overall pick. 2 is there. Maybe decide that you're going to go in a different direction. He hasn't gotten it done in 11 years in Detroit.
So Matthew Stafford has not gotten it done, says Rob Parker. Rob, I'm going to ask you, in 2014, who led the NFL in comeback game-winning drives? Which quarterback led the NFL? Take a gander. Just take a guess.
What year?
Matt Stafford, 2014.
Was that their playoff run that they went to the NFC Championship game?
Who led the NFL in game-winning comeback drives in 2016?
What does that mean?
I'm leading up to it. 2016, Matthew Stafford. 2017, 3 years in the last 6 years, he led the NFL in game-winning comeback drives. Timeout. Matthew Stafford, it's not his fault. His defense has been inept, horrible, embarrassing. Matt Patricia was hired to fix this unit. They were 32nd in the league this year. He has played with bottom 12 defenses for the last 4 years. Matt Stafford cannot do this by himself. Nobody can. There is no way, no how the Detroit Lions should move on from Matt Stafford. In the final point, the trade doesn't make financial sense. They will have $32 million in dead money.
Aside from that, we already know that there's a financial. I'm saying if you draft Tua and decide to move on from him or do something different,
I'm going to go.
You're not going to win.
I'm going to go crazy here. This team is close to being in the playoffs. They started the season 2-0-1. They were one of my buy early teams. And then they got a little unlucky with the referees. Stafford gets hurt, blah, blah, blah. This team is a big piece away. I like Isaiah Simmons from Clemson, the linebacker. This defense can turn it around. Matt Stafford's a winner. I like him. Greg, you got to keep him.
No, I'm with Rob, and I think for me, this has nothing to do with Matthew Stafford's inability to perform, because as you alluded to, he can perform and he has put up tremendous numbers, uber stats. He has one of the livest arms in all of quarterbacking in the National Football League. But I think he just needs a new look. Not only does the Detroit Lions, it hasn't worked out for them because they've only sold all or been all in on the offensive side of the ball. They've never went both ways. And you talked about Ndamukong Suh. They had a stint where the defense
was top five.
Really good.
It was top 5 that year.
It was really good. And I feel like that was their greatest opportunity and window. And since then, the defense is just, you gave the numbers. A place where I feel like Dak or Matthew Stafford would fit in is in the same colors that he's wearing in Dallas.
Ooh.
It would be, he has a live arm. Mike McCarthy knows Matthew Stafford very well. I'm not saying that this is what will happen, but it would be interesting to see if that would be something that Jerry Jones would pounce on.
Well, he'd have to compete. Half the league will want Matt Stafford if he has
Absolutely. Another team, the New England Patriots. If you're going to walk away from Tom Brady or let Tom Brady walk away from you, you go and get a guy who's arguably, out of all the available quarterbacks out there, we know the New England Patriots like to pluck guys from situations. They can go and get Matthew Stafford.
How about the New Orleans Saints?
But here's the other thing,
Drew Brees moves on, you bring in Stafford.
Even when you talk about stats, and I covered the Lions. I mean, I was a columnist in Detroit at the Detroit News, and I covered every road game for most of his career until I moved out here. And I saw, when you look at the stats, that's why I have a nickname. I call him Stat Padford. Because you're down, Greg.
In arguably every game.
Right?
Yeah.
You're down big. What happens? They let you throw the ball in front of them. You pile up these numbers. You don't get there. You don't win the game or whatever. But the numbers are there. And you go, wow, Stafford threw for 330 and 4 touchdowns. They lost because they were already down. And so a lot of the numbers, when you look at them, they're not when the game is being decided. And that's the problem. They always fall down early on, and you can say that's defensively, but even offensively, they're not scoring, they're not doing it. So a lot of the stuff comes after the fact.
You think Matt Stafford's a top 15 quarterback in the league?
Top 15, yeah. Because it's about winning. What I always tell you, sports has a short menu.
He's top 10 for me.
Oh,
Matt Stafford's definitely a top 10 quarterback.
You're just talking about
you just want to move on from
winning
him.
Doesn't matter to you, does it?
Listen, you can't.
How can you be the first overall pick with no playoff wins after 11 years?
It doesn't look good. I get that.
11 years, Greg?
You can't win by yourself.
Greg, has he won a division once? I mean,
no.
He hasn't. What do you want him to do? You think you could go out there and do all? He could play defense for him? Come on, man. You're killing Matt Stafford. Detroit guy Rob Parker. Get me worked up, folks. All right. No mercy. Damian Lillard may be sidelined for the NBA All-Star Game and three-point contest with a right groin strain, but that won't keep him from the stage. The 5-time NBA All-Star will take the stage Saturday night at Chicago's United Center to perform music from under his artist name, Dame Dollar.
Dame Dollar.
Is that D-O-L-L-A?
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg Jennings, I don't know if you have an artist name, but do you have an issue with Damian Lillard performing All-Star Weekend but not playing in the game?
My artist name is G Money. And I don't have one problem with this at all. And here's why. Because if he wasn't playing, it's not as if he wouldn't be on his feet or he wouldn't be doing something around his home or wherever he decided to be during this All-Star break and just resting. Like, we have this idea that when guys are injured or they're on the injured list, you just lay up at home and do nothing. Rob, that's unrealistic.
Do you remember?
I get it. Everyone wants.
Remember Embiid on the stage
listen,
dancing, right? But he couldn't play. I'm just saying.
The optics of it is what people will go to and say doesn't look good. But I'll tell you this: this has been Dame his entire career. He loves music. He's good. Let him do what he does. He's not going to harm himself by performing at the All-Star game. It's entertainment. The All-Star Weekend is all about entertainment anyway. Let him entertain because he can't play.
For once, I'm going to agree with you. And me and Dame have like a connection because I was a rapper too. It's normally at Macy's at Christmas time. But I don't have a problem with him either. He has 3 albums. He's big into music. It's a great opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity.
It is, and I get it. So I'm with you, Greg. It's not like he's doing some tricks and he got this big dance ensemble and all this other stuff.
You don't know?
Nah, I just doubt that that's what he's going to do.
You think he's like Eminem up there on the stage just rapping?
Yeah, I think it's more like that, and there's nothing strenuous to where it would have a bad look or something.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I have no issue with allowing him to participate in something that is his other love in this world, basketball and rapping. I'm cool with it.
So it took 5 days, a million segments. We all agree. This is nothing. This is much ado about nothing. Let the guy rap. He's got, 3 albums? Mm-hmm. I mean, Dame's going to be one day 35 years old, 36. He's going to retire, and he's going to be a rapper. Right?
Yeah, and this
He's got to set up for his post-basketball
and this
career.
is what I love. I love when leagues support the guys
There you go.
in situations outside of what they see them as. Dame is more than just a basketball player. Obviously, he loves music, and this is why he's going to be performing, and he feels like he's good at it, and others feel like he's good at it, which is why he has 3 albums. So let him do what he does. Support it. I love it. Kudos to the NBA.
Who was the other guy? Shaq was rapping back in the day, right?
With Fushnick.
Fushnickens, yes. Wow.
Come on,
Turn
man.
back the clock.
I told you I was a rapper once.
Jeez. You guys, I got to ask Rob about this All-Star Weekend. Are you really going there?
Yeah. What I'm going to say.
I didn't know you. I know you like cold weather. You went to Antarctica recently.
He's going to experience Dame Dollar.
Hey, I gotta check him out. But yes, I am going to Chicago. I know it's 1 degree today.
Yeah.
1 degree, but it's supposed to warm up.
Are you getting invites to the party? I mean, you've been hammering LeBron. I'm assuming you're not going to go try to, interview him
since you're
a reporter, Rob.
I will go and take part of all the festivities. But you know what? I would like to see him. I don't know his music. I know he had that thing, right, with Shaq, who's the best rapper, and they had the kind of standoff about that. Is he that good, Greg? I mean, it sounds like you know his music.
He's good. Look, I don't have any of his albums, but
you need to download, support a brother. You can't download a couple.
I have his music. I don't have the album.
No mercy. All-Star Weekend is finally upon us. It's Team LeBron versus Team Giannis in the Windy City on Sunday night for the NBA All-Star Game. Rob Parker has front row seats. It's a game of supply and demand to see the star-packed rosters play on Sunday night. According to Slam Online, the average cost ticket for this year's game is $4,000, the highest it's ever been. Rob, who do you have winning?
I have Zion winning the All-Star MVP. Oh, he's not playing? Oh, I'm sorry. I just figured he's a superstar. Colin just crowned him, so I just figured that he should just show up to Chicago and they should let him in the game because he's already a superstar. Okay, so now that we're done with that, how about Anthony Davis? That's who I have as the MVP. And you know how the NBA runs and the All-Star game. He's from Chicago. This is his big coming out year. He's with the Lakers. Everybody's gotten him winning the championship. They can force feed Anthony Davis, and the final score will be 210 to 208. So that's where I got it for the NBA All-Star game. And I'll be there to watch Anthony Davis get crowned MVP.
You know what? I'm going to go with Team LeBron will definitely win. But for my MVP, because I'm picking Team LeBron, I'm going to go Luka Doncic.
Oh,
wow.
I'm going with Luka Doncic. And I, as much as I love Trae Young, but because they won't win, I'm going to go with Luka Doncic. He's a skilled player, can shoot the ball, can entertain you while playing the game. I like that. I like the Luka Doncic right there.
Oh, man. I was thinking Luka, but I'm going to go with LeBron James. He's on a mission this year to prove he's not the washed king that everybody says he is, including Parker. I think LeBron basically hits a game-winning shot, walks off the court. It's a great celebration. I do want to say, you need to stop taking shots at Zion Williamson. He will be in Chicago. He will be in Chicago this weekend. I think he's in the Rising Stars game or something. He's going to dominate tonight. He is going to absolutely dominate this game. drop 40, a couple highlight reel dunks, and Rob Parker will be calling him a superstar next week.
Do you know what? What happened to the old NBA? Do you remember when Michael Jordan's first All-Star game? Do you remember?
They iced him out or something?
They wouldn't pass him the ball.
They did.
Those days are long gone.
They
I remember that.
And
can you imagine not passing the ball to Michael Jordan? That was Isaiah and Bird. They all got together.
A little cocky.
And they figured like, no, you the star of the league already?
Zion Williamson, future slam dunk champion.
Oh, no, he's too good for that. Now, let me make a quick joke here.
For that.
No, he's going to do it.
You know,
He will do it.
I thought Rob Parker would have made this joke. So Giannis' team in the All-Star game is a joke. I mean, they had this draft, and LeBron's got this stacked team because he's used to stacking teams as, a super team guy. The Bucks have nothing to worry about. Giannis is not going anywhere because he clearly can't create a super team. I mean, Greg Jennings read this roster to me. Kemba Walker, Joel Embiid. Like, this team is terrible. Giannis, get it together.
How in the world was Kawhi not his first pick? I just don't even understand that.
LeBron's got Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, Kawhi, Jason Tatum.
You got to think he goes for the international guys right out the gate.
Yeah, because that's really what it is if you look at it, right? Doesn't
LeBron knows how to create a super team. Anyways, everybody, we had an awesome week here. A lot of fun, right?
They'll all be back. Skip, Shannon, and Jenny.
They will be back next week. I think everybody had fun, though. I think you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for the constructive criticism. Greg Jennings, it was a blast.
A lot of fun.
Rob Parker, a lot of fun.
No doubt. Thanks,
everybody have a happy Valentine's Day. Chris Broussard. Get well soon, Chris.
That's right.
You guys have a great Valentine's weekend. Enjoy the All-Star game.
No mercy.
Thank you for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Keep an eye out for the weekend edition of the podcast tomorrow morning, featuring this week's best segments. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Fox Sports. One of one.